Have you ever looked around at your life and thought, is this it? You're doing all the things you thought you were supposed to do, working hard, taking care of responsibilities, showing up day after day. But there's this quiet feeling creeping in like something's missing. It doesn't always show up loud and obvious. Sometimes it's just a heaviness in your chest, a lack of excitement when you wake up, or a sense that the best days are already behind you. And maybe you can't even explain it to anyone because on paper, everything seems fine. This feeling isn't rare. In fact, it's more common than you might think, especially for men who are in the middle of their lives. You've got experience, you've got wisdom, but something about this chapter can feel disorienting. Like you've climbed a mountain, looked around, and realized you're not even sure if it was the right one. That's what this video is all about, understanding why so many men feel lost at this stage and how to begin finding your way again. We're not talking about quick fixes or fake positivity. We're talking real change, starting from the inside out. So if you've been wondering why you feel disconnected or stuck, you're in the right place. Let's dig in. One of the biggest reasons men feel this way is because their identity has been built around doing, not being. From a young age, we're taught to perform. Be strong. Be the provider. Be the one who gets things done. And that works until it doesn't. At some point, the hustle becomes automatic. You go to work, you check the boxes, you support your family, and then one day you stop and realize you don't know who you are outside of all that. You've become a role, not a person. And when life slows down just enough for you to notice, it hits hard. The silence feels uncomfortable because you're not used to hearing your own thoughts unless they're tied to your to-do list. But here's the thing, you're not broken. You've just never been taught how to reconnect with yourself beyond your responsibilities. The truth is, many men haven't given themselves permission to explore what they actually want, not what they're supposed to want. Maybe you used to love music or art or writing. Maybe you had dreams of traveling, of starting something of your own, of trying a new path altogether. But somewhere along the way, you put that part of yourself on a shelf, thinking you'd get back to it later. And now later feels like it might never come. The good news? It's not too late. You're not stuck, you're paused. And the pause is where your power actually is. This isn't a dead end, it's a signal. Your mind and body are telling you it's time to shift from survival mode to purpose mode. To stop living on autopilot and start living with intention. Another piece of the puzzle is the shift in physical energy. Maybe you've noticed your body doesn't respond the way it used to. You don't bounce back after a long week or a late night. And that can mess with your confidence, even if you don't talk about it. You start questioning your strength, your edge, your ability to lead. But what's really happening is that your body is asking for a new kind of attention, not less effort, but smarter effort. The kind that comes from respect, not punishment. Instead of trying to push through or ignore the signs, what if you slowed down just enough to listen? What if you treated your body like an ally, not an obstacle? This chapter isn't about going backward. It's about evolving into something deeper, something more real. And that requires a new kind of self-leadership. Now that we've looked at how identity and physical energy shifts can create that lost feeling, let's continue forward. There's another layer to this that's just as important, how the world around you responds when you start changing. When you begin to ask bigger questions or shift how you show up in the world, something unexpected often happens. The people around you don't always know how to handle it. You've spent years being the reliable one, the steady one, the guy who always has it together. So when you start peeling back the layers and making room for change, it can throw others off. They might make light of it, brush it off, or even question what you're doing. Not out of malice, but because it challenges the version of you they've come to depend on. This is where a lot of men quietly retreat. They start to doubt the process. If you've ever had that experience where you shared a vulnerable moment or opened up about wanting something more, only to be met with blank stares or awkward silence, you know how fast that desire can shrink back into the shadows. You start thinking, maybe I'm just overthinking. Maybe I should just keep my head down and carry on. But suppressing your growth to maintain comfort for others is a slow erosion of your soul. It's not about abandoning the people in your life. It's about having the courage to evolve even when it disrupts the status quo. Because you're not the same man you were 10 years ago. You shouldn't be. Growth isn't betrayal. It's the natural progression of someone paying attention to their inner life. And you deserve to be surrounded by people who support that evolution, even if it makes them uncomfortable at first. Part of the confusion many men face comes from living a life that's too quiet on the inside. Not silent in the peaceful way, silent in the disconnected way. You've been busy doing what needs to be done, but how often have you stopped and actually checked in with yourself? Not just to monitor stress or sleep or work goals, but to ask real questions. Am I proud of how I'm living? What do I look forward to? What scares me now in a good way? It might feel strange at first, asking yourself these things. You might brush it off and tell yourself you don't have time for that kind of introspection. But the longer you avoid it, the more lost you're likely to feel. Because the truth is, clarity doesn't just arrive one day like a package on your doorstep. It shows up when you create space for it. When you stop numbing out with distractions and allow yourself to sit in the messiness of not having all the answers yet. There's also this quiet pressure men face to be unshakable, to be the rock. And while being dependable is a strength, being emotionally rigid isn't. It takes real strength to admit you feel uncertain, and even more strength to do something about it. The most mature version of you isn't the one who pretends to have it all figured out. It's the one who stays open to learning, even when the road ahead looks unfamiliar. That unfamiliar feeling isn't a sign of failure. It's actually the doorway to your next chapter. Think about it. Every time you've grown, it started with discomfort. That first day at a new job. The first time you became a father. The first time you had to make a tough call and stand on your own. Those moments weren't easy, but they shaped you. So why would this be any different? Maybe the reason you feel stuck is because life is asking something new of you now. Not to run faster, but to go deeper. Not to add more noise, but to listen more closely. You've already proven your strength in the outer world. Now it's time to build strength in your inner world. That kind of strength doesn't look loud or flashy, but it changes everything from the inside out. Let's keep moving. Because once you start reconnecting with who you really are, it opens the door to something else, creating meaning on your own terms. There's a moment, sometimes quiet, sometimes loud, where a man starts to wonder what it's all been for. Not in a hopeless way, but in a deeply human way. You've done the work, paid the bills, shown up where it mattered, maybe even succeeded by every visible measure. And yet, when the noise settles, you're left staring at a ceiling in the middle of the night wondering why it still feels like something's missing. That hollow feeling isn't a crisis. It's a call. A call to create meaning that actually belongs to you. Not something handed down, not something expected, but something real. And that's where the shift happens. When you stop living for default goals and start asking, what would fulfillment feel like for me now? Not 5 years ago. Not when you were climbing the ladder. Not when you were proving your worth. But right now, in the middle of your life, with everything you've lived and learned. It's a powerful question, and it doesn't need a perfect answer. It just needs honesty. Some men find that meaning in a new pursuit, a creative project, a reconnection with nature, or a deeper involvement with their family. Others find it in moments of solitude, away from the constant motion. It doesn't have to be monumental. It just has to be yours. And that's what many men have never been taught, that you're allowed to define success and happiness differently as you evolve. You don't owe anyone the version of you they once knew if it no longer fits. But to get there, you have to stop comparing. You have to let go of this silent scoreboard that keeps ticking in your mind. Because no one is measuring your value the way you think they are. And truthfully, most people are too busy wrestling with their own lives to judge yours. So maybe the freedom you've been chasing doesn't come from changing your circumstances, but from changing how you relate to yourself. Giving yourself permission to let go of old timelines. Forgiving yourself for the detours. Recognizing that the man you are now carries wisdom the younger version of you didn't even know to ask for. And here's the beautiful part, you're not too late. It doesn't matter if you're just now waking up to what matters most. In fact, that timing might be exactly right. Because now you've got the life experience to back your choices with intention. You know what you don't want. You've seen enough to separate noise from truth. You've hurt, healed, and kept going. That's not a weakness, that's your foundation. So if you're feeling lost, don't panic. It's not the end. It's the start of something more honest. Let yourself be curious again. Let yourself make mistakes without shame. Let yourself move towards something that feels alive, even if it scares you a little. The path back to meaning isn't a straight line. It's a series of small, brave steps. And every time you take one, you remind yourself that you're still in motion, still growing, still capable of surprising yourself. No one has it all figured out. And those who seem like they do are often just better at pretending. But the man who's willing to look within, stay open, and take responsibility for his own fulfillment, that man doesn't need to be perfect. He just needs to be real. And when you choose that path, something shifts. Life stops feeling like a script you didn't write and starts feeling like a story you're proud to tell. So keep walking, keep asking, keep showing up, even on the days when nothing makes sense. Because being lost isn't the problem, it's staying stuck there that is. You've got more chapters ahead. Make sure they sound like you. And if you ever forget who that is, just sit quietly and listen. He's still in there, still ready, still rising.